Arden Izunia, Chancellor of Niflheim, at your humble service.
Welcome back to A Year of Final Fantasy, and I wanted to say big spoiler alert right now. If you don't want to get spoiled, do not watch this video. So this is one of the most requested topics I've had, people wanting to know my thoughts and feelings on the story, and I'm going to do that right now with the big plot twists of the games. And this topic would be like an hour long or something. It's way too much for just one video, so we're going to be splitting it up. Today I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy 1 through 7, and then later on I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy 8 through 15. So we're going to go over the big arcs that just blew everyone's minds, or at least I think blew everyone's minds, and possibly multiple ones from a single game that warrant them. So yeah, there's a lot of them, and let's get to it. So Final Fantasy 1 through 6 in general, maybe 1 through 5, there's not a ton of absolutely, what a twist moments, but make no mistake, they are there. And when the games originally came out, these were absolutely mind-shattering, especially just if you've just been playing video games. These were brand new things that people hadn't seen ever before. So let's do it. Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1 started off as a straightforward rescue the princess, go on a super high fantasy journey, and that's all it really needed to do. But at the very end, you're treated to a big WTF explanation that Chaos is Garland, the knight that you beat at the very beginning of the game, and at that point, whenever you beat him, these 4 elemental fiends sent him back into the past, and they empower him to become Chaos. At that point, he sends the fiends into the future to darken the crystals to send Garland in the past, and you have this weird kind of time loop thing going on, which of course, at the end of the game, you break that loop. So it's a causality, what do they call it? Timey-wimey plot point or whatever. We're not going to see the end of time travel in the franchise ending after this game, believe me on that. But anyway, at the time, releasing back in the late 80s, it was definitely a big WTF moment, but all in all, just what we have to work with today, it is definitely pretty tame by today's standards. Final Fantasy 2 has some pretty WTF plot points. For instance, Leon's absent for a good portion of the game, and it turns out that he had been the Dark Knight all along, or a Dark Knight, since the beginning of the game, and that's really the only big plot twist. And once again, it's pretty tame by today's standards. Same goes for Final Fantasy 3, where there's a malevolent cloud of darkness that wants to destroy everything and who's using other characters as their puppets. So we're going to see that pop up later too. Okay, that being said, moving on to Final Fantasy 4, we have our truly first big, just absolutely mind-shattering WTF moment. And that, of course, is the reveal that Golbez is Cecil's brother, and he's been mind-controlled. And it's definitely incredibly similar to a Star Wars Darth Vader, Luke's father type of deal. So we had seen stuff like that before, but in other particular mediums. Here, it was a pretty big deal, but I'm not going to oversell it. Of course, it's nothing earth-shattering, especially since we've seen it before. But if you've noticed, we've actually kind of been ramping up a little bit more to get onto the insanity that appears in the latter half of the series. Going on to Final Fantasy V, that's actually a pretty interesting one that takes what's come before and kind of turns it up to 11, right? I guess the big twist here is that Galuf is from another world, and this kind of takes that Final Fantasy IV moon aspect with the just weird whale thing, anyway, and it's expanding on it essentially. Final Fantasy V also introduces us to Gilgamesh, which I did a summon video on. It is so fascinating, definitely worthy of a WTF on that, because the Gilgamesh character actually has a complete through line connecting all of the Final Fantasies. Crazy, just meta WTF. Final Fantasy VI is really the first game that provided a plot twist that people never really saw coming. Not that it's just some crazy big bad evil guy sibling twist like Final Fantasy IV. In fact, it's nothing like that. What we have here is that the antagonist Kefka at this point actually completes his plan. He destroys the world, like he fulfilled what he wanted to do, and in fact he became a divine being and all that. And whenever this happened, it was the halfway point of the game. So after the world is destroyed, it's your mission to save it, I guess? It's a really weird thing, like the enemy won, now what do you do, right? I think that's why a lot of people like it, but I mean, gotta give props to Kefka. He's not the most in-depth villain, but hey, just like I said, he gets shit done. And of course, Final Fantasy VII, let's be fair, this one is the game that blew the WTF of WTFs of all video games. And of course, the game had a ton of plot twists, but by far the most acknowledged one, probably in video game history. The biggest moment is the end of Disc 1 with the death of Aeris. Final Fantasy VII and the whole franchise after that really hinges on that particular moment, as Aeris is gone for good. It's a huge call of action to the characters, and there's just no way bringing her back. It's not a fake out, it's not anything. It's pretty crazy. Other characters have died before permanently, like Tella, but none were hinged around such a main character. And if you were around back when Final Fantasy VII first came out, you understand how just huge of a point this was. More than likely, it's going to be one of the most memorable moments in video game history, especially for you if you played it at the very launch of the game. And I guess really what accentuates that Eris scene, though, is that we have this new medium, this new FMV, full motion video, and that really encapsulated what happened to her, how it happened, and basically the aftermath with Sephiroth. It's definitely, like I said, one of the most memorable things in gaming history. But Final Fantasy VII actually just doesn't stop there. It's completely saturated with other twists, but the I don't know, the next biggest, and probably even bigger than Eris, just for the reveal sake of it, is Cloud's relationship with Sephiroth and his past in being in Soldier, which is the super elite group of Shinra. But then we find out, that he's actually not that at all. He was just a little grunt soldier, and it turns out that he was kind of just a plaything of Sephiroth, revealing that the past was actually another character's past, being Zack. The way it was revealed is just the most mind-bending twist in the game so far, even after Eris' death. Special props go to the Jenova Sephiroth history. That was a pretty memorable moment for me personally. There's a very nightmarish scene where Sephiroth rips off this facsimile of Jenova, and there's this crazy, just messed up alien in the background. I don't know. It's weird. It's still actually, I'll think about that every now and then, but I want to say that these reveals have definitely contributed to what making Final Fantasy seriously iconic and brought into the mainstream. I mean, Final Fantasy was definitely known before, but when 7 came out, that was it, man. It's Final Fantasy's playground with JRPGs there. They had complete dominance over it. But anyway, from Final Fantasy VII, after that took off, we're going to see that the franchise definitely starts pushing into the absolutely insane, ludicrous territory with the way that plots are implemented, kind of just trying to outdo the last game. Some of these crazy plots definitely imprint themselves into people, while others may just laugh it off. But we'll get into those next time on A Year of Final Fantasy, and as always, until next time, just the warriors keep on gaming.